Okay, so I often get asked, what is a Kegel? How do I do a Kegel? How do I know if I'm doing a Kegel? And so that these are like great questions, and it can be really tricky. So when we talk about Kegels, it's a pelvic floor muscle contraction. So your pelvic floor is made up of a bunch of little muscles, and there's multiple layers of muscles. And a healthy pelvic floor contraction contracts all these muscles and helps bring up the ligaments, and then relaxes down and even is able to bulge. So a bulge is like what you do when you try and fart or when you're trying to have a healthy bowel movement. And so that is the range of the pelvic floor. It contracts, it relaxes, and then it bulges. And so the pelvic floor encompasses the anus, the vagina, and the urethra. And so these are the holes that pass through it. So if you're a man, this is obviously the penis and not the vagina. But a good way to imagine and see if you can contract your pelvic floor is imagine bringing your two sit bones together. You're trying to move these guys and bring them together. And at the same time, you are activating, like you're trying to move your clitoris, or if you're a man, you're trying to move your penis. And so these are great ways to see if you can get an activation. Now, if you attempt that and you're like, I can't feel that, I don't know if I'm doing it, then the best way to feel if you're doing it is actually to put your finger there. Like put your finger in your vagina or kind of around your vagina next to it, and see if you can get an elevation and a lift. So that's a healthy contraction, would be closing of the holes and then lifting up. And now maybe you're not feeling it that way either, and the potential could be that you're stuck in a contraction. And so it's really important that you learn how to let that contraction go and down train it and get it to that fully relaxed position, and then train it so you can have a bulge, because you need that in order to have a healthy bowel movement. You also need that range of motion in order to push a baby out. And so, so these are just some good techniques. If you have trouble, so most people I work with don't actually have trouble, aren't necessarily able to even contract because they're already fully contracted. And a lot of us walk around with these contracted pelvic floors. And if you can imagine how tiring that would be and how ineffective that muscle would become, it's as if I was walking around with my bicep just contracted and my elbow bent like this. That is then just not a good, that muscle is going to get sore, and that muscle is going to give me aches and pains and adhesions and all these other problems. And so if I'm trying to like maybe move something in the cupboard and I'm already stuck like this, how am I going to get like a cup in the cupboard, right? So it's the same thing with your pelvic floor. So we have to learn how to stretch it out, and then we can retrain the muscle in order to come back together. So that is a healthy pelvic floor. It has those three range of motions. And if you have trouble finding your Kegel and you feel like you can't quite get it, or maybe your Kegel is ineffective and you still have pain with intercourse, you still have a leaking of urine, you still have maybe you feel pulling in different scars. So that would mean that your muscle isn't totally healthy and isn't able to attain all those positions, the contraction, relaxation, and the bulge. And so it would be most beneficial to get a pelvic floor evaluation if that is the case. All right, well, I hope this was helpful. And if you have questions, just drop us a comment.